This is Take 5 with Bentley, Nevada. In the studio with me again today is Carlos Gomez, Bentley, Nevada's VP of the Augury Strategic Alliance. Carlos, good to have you back.
Hey, Steve. Good to be back.
Carlos, this, I think, will kind of conclude this long and fascinating discussion we've had about machine health powered by Augury. And on the break, you were mentioning to me that one of the customers that has adopted this solution had a very interesting kind of one-liner that they shared with you, and I think there's a lot to unpack within that. So can you tell us what they had to say and maybe a little bit about the industry they're in?
Absolutely. So this was a heavy industrial customer, one of the ones that were just experimenting and piloting our Bentley and Augury solution. And they are such a perfect example, Steve, of what you and I have been talking about, right? So too many assets, too many alarms. And because of the help that our solution is now bringing to them, right? It was funny. We were trying to come up with an analogy to help, are we getting this picture right from you? As we think about that customer success dialogue we're having consistently. And we said, it's kind of like a magnet, right? To find a needle in a haystack. And the response was, no, actually, it's much more than that. It's more like a tractor beam, right? Pulling tons of needles from tons of haystacks at the same time. And it was beautiful because it tells you that it's helping them prioritize their work, make their life easier, right? And do something that typically they would have been drowning in alarms versus a few, call it less than 10 handful of AI-driven alerts to go get those machine saves and value.
As we've talked through this series of episodes, Carlos, one of the things that's come out is the reason that these digital transformation managers are interested in this class of assets. There's multiple reasons, but it's a numbers game. There's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And so that analogy of kind of a tractor beam, there's not just that one tiny problem that's really hard to spot where you need that AI to help you find the problem. It's really kind of I'm overwhelmed. There's so many things out there. I just don't have enough people. I don't have enough eyes looking at the data. And if I do, it's too expensive. Talk a little more about that particular customer. How long have they had this solution in place now? Are they kind of, in their first year of runtime? Have they got a little more runtime under their belt?
I think this is the point where we blow the lid off this thing. Within 53 days, these folks were able to get to a 25x ROI. We gave them their first time to value save within 2 weeks, and their first time to insight to do something about something was 1 day.
And the more time I hear stories like this, Carlos, it's like, I won't say it's the norm, but it's not Six Sigma away from average either. I mean, this is somewhat typical that these kinds of stories are coming back. Now, this is a customer. This is not, if I understand, this is not a customer that doesn't know what condition monitoring is all about, and so they had all of this. They weren't doing anything at all with these machines. Did they have some kind of incumbent approach that they were using?
I think actually, if I had to think about the best-in-class example of what we're trying to do with our partnership with Augury, this customer is it. We're basically taking an incredible installed base that Bentley, Nevada has already provided to this customer and basically turned on with something as simple as a firmware upgrade, the AI capability on top of existing wireless sensors they had in place. And by the way, they were deriving great value from those too.
Right.
We've just accelerated it to a level that the way that they're able to go after real alerts more quickly for saves of those machines, it's basically transformed their processes.
So I guess as I kind of unravel what I'm hearing there, Carlos, they'd already crossed the chasm, so to speak, to move toward automated IoT type sensors for data collection. So they'd already kind of taken care of that piece of automatically collecting the data, but there was still more value to get out of that by basically attaching this AI powered by Augury to that installed base of wireless sensors. Is that right?
That's correct. And to the extent that where they're heading now, and the philosophical comment we got from their leadership above was we were reacting in a good way, right? To go after where we're seeing problem that, challenging actors of machines. But with the solution, we don't have to be reacting. Let's just be standard all the time. Mm-hmm. Let's get ahead of all these different problems that this AI is helping us foresee much earlier so that we don't have to be running around, even with the technology we had to be able to go after this more easily, right? And instead of looking at an ocean of choices to make, let's get very pointed and let's get very specific to where we can derive value quickly.
Well, I can't think of a better way to kind of put a bow on this discussion, Carlos, than with that story, because throughout this series of discussions on machine health, there's the automation piece of not having to manually collect data anymore. But then there's the piece of, okay, I've got all this data, who's going to sift through it? And this particular customer is a example of somebody that was doing all that, and they said, yeah, there was still more value when we could respond to what the AI is telling us instead of having a small army of people that had to go through all that data. And 53 days and 25x, that's nothing to sneeze at. I would think whoever's leading that digital transformation efforts in that business has got to be excited and engaged by what's going on as well.
Most definitely. And to the extent that, you could, and this is where that customer success piece comes in again. This is turning into such, it already was, but let's call this transforming into such a wonderful and successful partnership on adding and thinking about, well, let's think about where else we can go with this. And that's just wonderful to see, right?
Yes.
And when customers are that happy.
Yes. Well, Carlos, listen, this has been very enjoyable from my end. I always like talking about this topic of condition monitoring and Bentley Nevada products, and talking about machine health in this subscription-based service has given us lots of kind of new things to talk about. So with all of that, I want to thank you very much for your time and the ground that we've been able to cover together. And I hope that we'll be able to have you back in the future.
No, it's been a pleasure, Stephen. Great to talk to you about all these different subjects.
And with that, this has been Take 5 with Bentley Nevada, a Baker Hughes business. We'll see you next time.